Let this flag be a standard of our conviction to embody all of these things and to be the change we will upon the world. Let the will we weave to empower and protect be woven into this flag as we weave it into the world. With our blessing, let all love be sacred, all unions safeguarded, and all people free. Blessed be. My reading this morning is from Victoria Safford. It's entitled Map of the Journey in Progress. Here is where I found my voice and chose to be brave. Here's a place where I forgave someone against my better judgment, and I survived that. And unexpectedly, amazingly, I became wiser. Here's where I was once forgiven, was ready for once in my life to receive forgiveness and to be transformed. And I survived that also. I lived to tell the tale. This is the place where I said no, more loudly than I'd thought I ever could, and everybody stared, but I said no loudly anyway, because I knew it must be said. And those staring settled down into harmless, ineffective grumbling, and over me they had no power anymore. Here's a time, and here's another, when I laid down my fear and walked right on into it, right up into my neck in that rolling water. Here's where cruelty taught me something. And here's where I was first astonished by gratuitous compassion and knew it for the miracle it was, the requirement it is. It was a trembling time. And here much later is where I returned the blessing clumsily. It wasn't hard, but I was unaccustomed. It cycled round, and as best I could, I sent it back on out, passed the gift along. This circular motion around and around has no apparent end. Here's a place, a murky puddle where I have stumbled more than once and fallen. I don't know yet what to learn there. On this site, I was outraged, and the rage sustains me still. It clarifies my seeing. And here's where something caught me. A warm breeze in late winter, bird song in late summer. Here's where I was told that something was wrong with my eyes, that I see the world strangely. And here's where I said, yes, I know, I walk in beauty. Here is where I began to look with my own eyes and listen with my ears and sing my own song, shaky as it is. Here is where, as if by surgeon's knife, my heart was opened up, and here, and here, and here, and here. Those are the landmarks of conversion. So it's been a busy spring. Once David and I made the very difficult decision of where we wanted to live once we married, well, okay, beach versus Augusta is not a terribly hard choice. I began the very slow but rewarding task of trash, keep, donate, not only in packing my home, but my office as well. And I still have some things to give to people, so I may be grabbing you to pass on some things. And I am, at David's insistence, bringing a stack of my past sermons with me. And while going through them, I discovered the order of service from my installation. That was one of the happiest days of my ministry, I think topped only by the service of ordination in May of 2013. I've always been interested in the subject of covenant. For my bachelor's degree in theology, my dissertation was on the way that the people of Israel came to be the chosen people through their covenant with Yahweh. And then my essay for Jim Hobart, my beloved professor of UU Polity at Meadville Lombard, was about covenants of right relations. We have a covenant of right relations in the church here. Everyone who becomes a member signs it. It's worth looking at from time to time, although many of you also carry a copy of it in your name tag shield. The covenant, I believe, should be an outward sign of an inward intention. And I love the Universalist tale of Hosea Ballew's travels as a well-known Universalist preacher because it illustrates this very point. Ballew was riding from one town to another, and a Baptist preacher asked if he could ride along with him. And Ballew, of course, welcomed the company. Along the way, the Baptist preacher said to Ballew, I know you Universalists don't believe in hell. But without hell, what is there to keep people from harming others, robbing and raping, and so on? And Ballew's response was simple. It would never occur to a Universalist to do those things. The Reverend Julianne Silberman Bunn says that this is her favorite story because it is the bottom line for her in the whole subject of right relations for Unitarian Universalists. If you think of others as yourself, it would never occur to you to do them any harm. So when I was going through the stack of sermons and found the order of installation, it contains the two-part covenant of installation that both this congregation and I agreed on in August of 2017. The first part describes what is expected of me by the congregation, and the second part, what the congregation pledges to me. Let me read it to you. Covenant of installation. We would have you dwell among us, preaching the truth in freedom and love. We would have you educate our children and counsel our youth. We would have you minister to us in times of joy and sorrow. We would have you lead us in a mutual quest toward a greater understanding of what it means to build the beloved community. We, on our part, pledge ourselves to remember that the work of this church belongs to us all. As we would ask you to be charitable toward our failures, so will we, and remember that you are human and can falter. We recognize that we bear a responsibility in your material welfare and spiritual development. We pledge ourselves to maintain the freedom of both pulpit and pew. We pledge to assist you and cooperate with you in our common moral and spiritual growth. And as I read this covenant, I feel so proud that we are ending our relationship together in a loving, respectful way, and that we have, near as damn it, been pretty intentional about what the covenant asks us to do and for one another. And these are some of my thoughts surrounding the accomplishment of that covenant together, going through its phrases one by one. We would have you dwell among us, preaching the truth in freedom and love. I suppose the most obvious way of seeing this happen is through my Sunday sermons, from the crazy mixed-up sermon on April Fool's Day to the heartfelt gratitude for 50 years of the open door kindergarten, to the searing calls for action after tragedies such as Mother Emanuel and the Pulse nightclub shootings, to the sermons on anti-racism and white fragility. Preaching the truth through civic advocacy, putting our fifth principle into practice. I have done this along with some of you. I've made visits to the Georgia State House with Augusta's Interfaith Coalition, making sure that our legislators hear a voice for the voiceless, like the parents of children at Gracewood State Hospital, and petitioners for marriage equality and non-discrimination in the workplace. Participation in and support of Augusta Pride, working with the Progressive Religious Coalition to put on a film series that highlighted important issues like homelessness and infant mortality, being part of the annual Progressive Religious Coalition Interfaith MLK celebrations, offering invocations for the Augusta Commissioners' meetings, always saying prayers for peace shortly before internecine warfare in the commission, wearing pink pussy caps with other UU women at the Women's March after the inauguration, and even, yes, even, my monologue performance at the revival last year of the Vagina Monologues. From the covenant, we would have you educate our children and counsel our youth. I've enjoyed the Sundays when I've been able to hold children's chapel in the RE wing with our young people, giving them a sense of ownership of worship and a chance to impart their own wisdom about faith and spirituality. Our time for all ages on Sunday is a constant source of joy. And with both of these, I would say it's pretty even as to who is educating whom. I've had regular worship opportunities with children through our summer camps and our groundbreaking winter Chalaka camp with its Jedi temple. But not only worship and education, but offering pastoral care has been one of my greatest privileges. And one of the highlights for me when it comes to children was to be able to arrange for the nonprofit organization Child Enrichment to hold their mentoring program, Heroes, here in this building, knowing that we were providing a safe space for survivors of child abuse to engage in a process of healing and mentoring was so special to me. And we're about to continue that cooperation with Child Enrichment after the summer for their teen program. We would have you minister to us in times of joy and sorrow. Right away, what came to my mind were those times when we've been together for celebrations, child dedications, marriages. We held the first marriage equality marriages here after Georgia passed the law. Holidays, Christmas, New Year, special events, service at the shore, Dia de los Muertos, sing-along sound of music, sock hops. Those are just a few of the good times. But we also celebrate when it comes to our memorial services, and I have to say that I feel so blessed to have been able to create those services that do celebrate and find joy in recalling the lives of those who have died. We will miss dearly those who have departed. And let me mention this past year, we have lost Jim Hudson, who was a stalwart supporter of this church, and Vilma Safran, whose vibrant spirit can never be dimmed. But during my time here, I was also an advocate for the establishment of our memorial garden. And what a delightful spot it is. It is such a beautiful and peaceful place that one couple even asked to be married there. Times of sorrow are definitely occasions when I'm working hard to provide a pastoral presence, whether it's for a young family grieving the loss of an unborn child, or the gathering of the wider community to mourn mass terror attacks on mosques and synagogues. And the Blue Christmas service was something that I began here at UUCA before I even became a minister, and it draws people who are seeking comfort and understanding because they don't feel the Christmas spirit. I've also been immensely enriched by leading grief support groups. Yes, they are meant to and do help people who have had a loss, but they also give back things to me that are very precious, mainly trust and an open heart that reminds me that grief is the price we pay for having loved. We would have you lead us in a mutual quest toward a greater understanding of what it means to build the beloved community. We can do that one person at a time, one group at a time, encouraging members to step up to leadership. I have tried to provide a model of good practice when I can. One thing I have enjoyed is helping to spread the welcoming arms of this congregation toward the community, building relationships with a wide and diverse presence. In addition to the groups that meet here at the church, AA and Sierra Club, we have welcomed the Interfaith Fellowship of Augusta, which has held a series of discussion panels here. We've also hosted Augusta's Interfaith Coalition. We invited the NAACP Augusta chapter here to celebrate with us the 50th anniversary of the Open Door Kindergarten. We have a relationship that is very strong with the Equality Clinic of Augusta. Several members of this church, including me, Pam Hayward, Chris Drescher, Bill Height, have served on the clinic's board of trustees. And thanks to the commitment of Will Ortiz and John Moore, we've been able to provide food for the medical students who are clinic volunteers there. Last year, the Equality Clinic established the Rowan Feld House Award for Advocates of Transgender Rights, and UUCA was the first recipient of that award. We build the beloved community by practicing radical hospitality to other groups that do not find wide acceptance or understanding in this area. The Trans Support Group and the Peer Support Group Recovery International both meet regularly at this church. It is this mutual quest that both you and I have undertaken that I most hope will continue after I've gone. The installation covenant goes on. We, on our part, pledge ourselves to remember that the work of this church belongs to us all. I do feel real pride when I see UUCA members at events in the community, like League of Women Voters, and when they bring people here. I know that our music ministry is also much more than the music we sing on Sundays. I was fortunate to be able to reestablish the Four Seasons Chamber Jazz Concert Series with the help of Rob Foster and Karen Gordon, and the attendance of church members and friends to those concerts is greatly appreciated, as is the long-standing commitment of Lynn and Frank Dennison to staff the refreshments table at every concert. The work of education certainly belongs to us all. Although Mindy Gales has done a terrific job in the first year she's been acting as Lifespan Faith Development Director, her sound management of the summer and Chalaka camps and her enthusiasm for restarting the Navigators chapter this coming year are only just a couple of things that she has the energy to do. As we would ask you to be charitable toward our failures, so will we also remember that you are human and can falter. I feel a humility beyond words that you have seen me through an incredible personal journey. As a member of this church, I began as a ministry associate under the Reverend Dan King, and then while finishing my preparation for ordained ministry, I had a 2-year half-time internship with our sister church in Aiken. I became this congregation's developmental minister at a time when the congregation had been lovingly restored and nurtured to health by Reverend Dacia. During that span of time at this church, I know that we have had some failures in the way that we have not been called to our highest selves, in the conflict that drove a minister to seek a negotiated settlement and some members to leave the church. So yes, we are definitely human. And I have made mistakes, both as a lay member and as a minister in my years here. In my enthusiasm to make clever ideas happen, I've been less than patient. In some interpersonal interactions, I've been known to be blunt to the point of rudeness. Maybe people are more tolerant of that coming from a male than a female minister, I suspect. And in the process of learning my job, I have sometimes bitten off more than I can chew and micromanaged for the sake of efficiency. But I have felt the kindness of your patience with me, and I humbly appreciate your sensitivity to changes in my life and the love that has been shown to my family and especially to Oliver. We recognize that we bear a responsibility in your material welfare and spiritual development. I have been provided ample opportunities to attend General Assembly, clergy cluster meetings, SUMA, the Southeast UU Ministers Association, Women's Spirit at the Mountain, as well as courses and workshops that have helped me to understand more fully the demands of ministry. We pledge ourselves to maintain the freedom of both pulpit and pew. I've appreciated after-service comments that show that you respect my ministerial privilege of speaking what is on my heart. And I've heard both in the receiving lines and in after-service discussions, emails, phone calls, and conversations that you are reflecting on my sermons using your own perspectives and opinions. We pledge to assist you and cooperate with you in our common moral and spiritual growth. Martin Buber wrote, "The human being is the promise-making, promise-keeping, promise-breaking, promise-renewing creature. We UUs wear our values on our sleeves, and in trying to live out our principles and keep in right relation with each other, there are bound to be challenges. But by covenanting with one another, we agree not to walk away from the table when the going gets rough. Not all of us can do that. And I appreciate those of you who have shown inner strength and determination in sticking to that commitment. Unitarian Universalism is not an easy path to choose. It's much easier to join a religious body that tells you what to think and behave and believe and how to feel. Instead, you have committed to an ongoing spiritual search. One of the 5 smooth stones of liberal religion, as defined by theologian James Luther Adams, is that we believe that revelation is not sealed. And so we find new sources of wisdom, new ways of articulating our values, new relationships that flourish and that increase our diversity, our engagement with the world, our ability to grow the beloved community. And we do not stagnate in our faith. More than a century ago, the Reverend Lewis Fisher, the dean of the Universalist Seminary at St. Lawrence University, said, "Universalists are often asked to tell where they stand," he wrote. "The only true answer is that we do not stand at all, we move." So as this congregation moves to end one chapter of ministry and open another, I offer my utmost gratitude that we have honored our covenant with one another, and I wish for you and your new interim minister a good start that includes a covenant that shows wisdom, compassion, and accountability. May you both exercise appropriate boundaries. May you both find a way to express concerns as well as joys to each other. And may your new minister find a happy medium between hope and expectation. What do I mean by that? Well, let me conclude with a story about ministry couched in biblical terms that is a favorite of mine. Now it came to pass that while the elder in Israel tarried in Babylon, a message came to him from a distant city, saying, "Come thou and counsel with us. Help us to search out a priest, for the one that has served us has gone mad." And the elder in Israel arose and journeyed to that distant city. And when the men of affairs were assembled, the elder spake unto them, saying, "What manner of man seeketh thee to be your new priest?" And they answered and said unto him, "We seek a young man, yet with the wisdom of gray hairs, one that speaketh his mind freely, yet giveth offense to no one, that draweth the multitude to the temple on the Sabbath, but will not be displeased when we ourselves are absent. We desire one who has a gay mood, yet is of sober mind, that seeketh out dark sayings and prophecies, yet speaketh not over our heads, that filleth the temple, buildeth it up, yet defileth not the sanctuary with a motley assortment of strangers. We seeketh one that putteth the instruction of the youth first, but requireth not that we become teachers, that causeth the treasury to prosper, yet asketh not that we give more of our substance. Verily, we seek a prophet that will be unto us a leader, but will not seek to change us, for we like not to be disturbed." And the elder in Israel answered and said unto them, "When I have found such a priest, I will indeed send him to you. But you may have to wait long, for the mother of such a one has not yet been born." Bright blessings to all of you. Blessed be. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. My wish for you